Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. It was a pretty historic weekend for Ireland, of course, winning the Grand Slam and the rugby. It was Paddy's weekend, another successful week at Cheltenham. A couple of men that were very busy at Cheltenham are joining us here this morning because we are talking all things BresBet Easter Cup. Firstly, we have Carl Perry from BresBet himself, of course, a former top quality trainer in his own right. And here he is tonight talking about Irish Greyhounds because he knows the cream always rises to the top and it's best to talk about the best in the business. And Tommy Lyons, the exile Dub, is joining us back from his break in Cheltenham. Although I'm not sure if it was much of a break. A very busy man last week. This is just an ease back into things for yourself, Tommy. Carl, firstly, very welcome. Welcome back to Talking Dogs on a Monday. A cracking Easter Cup. Obviously only 36 in the entry, but a very strong 36 to start with.
Yeah, brilliant entry. And just, missing one or two maybe main stars, with Hoffer and the Derby winner. But still, you have to be very, very happy with the entry that we received. And you'd much rather see competitions for 36 dogs with a quality like that than filling them with 48s and dogs that are making the numbers up. But yeah, we had a great entry, very competitive. And yeah, I think there were 6 very good eats to get through on Saturday. And not many shocks, but still, great 24 left.
Not many shocks, but there was a couple of I fell out of my chair with. Tommy, there was plenty happening in Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. The 6 heats of the BresBet Easter Cup were certainly the dominant attraction, and one or two sort of slight surprises, but all in all, I think the right dogs progressed.
Yeah, they probably progressed all right, but like there was a 4-on chance beaten, and there was 8-1 winners and that. So there was a good mix of it. Some really high quality performances, the type of performances that would stand up in the latter stages of a derby. That's the type of performances I felt they were put in anyway. So a lot of new kids coming on the block. We've seen that in the last few weeks, and we will see it over the next few weeks with the Kirby Memorial as well. So this obviously is going to be a really, really strong. It looks like it's going to be a really strong summer of greyhound racing.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Let's get into it. The opening heat on the card was sort of, I was going to say set the tone, but it didn't set the tone. It was an 8-1 winner. It was the biggest price winner of the heat. All for the best. Tommy, he's a dog we've liked for a long, long time. He's had an interrupted career. I put him in at a biggish price in the card. I thought his best days were probably behind him. Now, it probably helped the Trinity Junior tied up a little bit in his first run in quite a while. He showed great early speed to get around Pied Piper, but all for the best, who has some monster runs over 600 yards on his card, was too close off the second bend and got there in the closing yards, despite me calling Trinity Junior a winner about 30 yards from the line. I quickly corrected that as they crossed the line, because all for the best never gives up, the son of Vulturi, getting there in a tight finish in 29.81. It was a good run.
Yeah, look, he's a dog we've liked for a long time. He's just because he's such an honest dog. There's no kind of there's no real change of pace. He can gallop at a ferocious gallop and keep going, and it's why he picked up Trinity Junior. Trinity Junior, actually, I came away with an enhanced view of Trinity Junior's ability. Didn't think it broke very well. Thought it showed fabulous early pace. Really impressed with the early pace to get around the bend, and yeah. It's probably never going to be the strongest 550 runner, but I'd be encouraged to think the 29.81 beating ahead, doing 29.82 or 29.83, doing that, and it can strengthen up as the season goes on. I think by the time we get around to Derby, we won't even be concerned about whether it says 550 or not. We'd say yes, an early pacer has to lead maybe, but I came away with thinking Trinity Junior, went up in my estimation, but all for the best. Like you're in your commentary, you're right. You would think he was home and host. And it's just that all for the best just keeps galloping relentlessly, and is a smashing greyhound. It was a good heat, good start. We had the yawl dog in there, Kubek, what I call. He's one of the fastest in yawl. He tends to miss the kick. Can break on occasion. When he does in yawl, he tends to win. This is just a step up to classic company. So it was no harm to see him in there. And for Margaret Enright, because he is a dog we've enjoyed watching in yawl for a very long time. But he was out with the washing a little bit, it's just a step too far. But overall, I think that was the front two came away, reputations enhanced.
Yeah, Joanna Supreme broke fastest led early. We got a bit squeezy in the middle. Check for sure, edging into the fence. He was 7-4 second favorite. Found early traffic. He was never really a player, and in the end, Trinity Junior, as you said, showed great early speed to go round. All of the best coming at him. Carl, your thoughts? It was a great way to kick off proceedings. Like it's ahead. The dog coming from lengths back to win at 8-1. It's sort of it got everyone's juices flowing, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. In running, it looked all over with a Trinity dog. He went into a bracket where I thought there were 5 or 6 dogs very much like him, and that he'll definitely be better for the run. For probably the first run this year, and definitely I seen 5 or 6 dogs on the night that thought you hit that bracket that you'd definitely be better next week for the run. And once, like Tommy just mentioned, definitely one that I looked at and thought this is one to monitor, going forward. And the winner, the All for the Best, he's just an out and out proper competition, but he don't know how to run a bad race. His staying power, stamina, always gives him a chance of qualifying, especially on Saturday when it was the first 4. He's going to be very hard to come back. And he's the one we're always put up as a good each way bet for the value, at the prices in the outright market.
And one of the few wide seeds are still remaining, so more than likely going to get his draw most nights. And there are a few of the inside seeds that aren't just inside seeds, like they're real inside seeds. So if they're drawn out in 4 or 5, you could see it getting squeezy in the middle in a few heats, and that's worth keeping an eye on. Trinity Junior, of course, is now 2.5 years of age. It's the start of his 2nd season, and like yourselves, lads, I just can see him strengthening up into a really talented greyhound. Obviously, he was a juvenile derby finalist last year, so high quality already. But if he just adds that length or two, all of a sudden he could be anything going ahead. All for the Best, good winner. And back in 3rd was Pied Piper from Morris Heffernan, running well. He's yet to get a clear run at Shelburne Park. He's missed a kick in his 2 or 3 starts there. Be just interesting to see if he can produce his best sort of Clonmel form. He's talented, just don't rule him out yet, although he'd be a big price to go on and land the spoils here. On to Heat 2, Park Blake. Tommy, having won at Curraheen Park the previous week, looked like he was sort of getting back to his best, but I was disappointed with this run. He just didn't seem to be striding out fully down the back straight, could never get away from them. And while Stories Cash Out is a talented tracker, he has been a disappointing performer, and the fact that he came through to win pretty comfortably by 2 lengths, despite having sort of been forced to check at that 3rd bend. Disappointing for me by Park Blake. Good run by Stories Cash Out. And Hello Mom running so well for Liam O'Connor back in 3rd. I'm sure Liam is getting the real kick out of that one, Tommy.
Yeah, well, I tell you what this heat kind of confused me a little bit. What way was the tracking? What way would you rate the tracking?
I was going to suggest I would put it down as being dead, sort of 25 back, in around 25-30 back.
In that sense, it's like it's not that bad a run from Park Blake. I was fierce impressed with Stories Cash Out, because Stories Cash Out, ran into kind of, it wasn't that it got trouble, but it just a couple of times had its kind of racing line taken. But Park Blake kept its line and forced Stories Cash Out, and I just love the way the winner switched at the last bend, and without nearly breaking stride, switched and got upside Park Blake in a matter of strides, and then strolled onto the line. Clearly Stories Cash Out, right? You're going to lack a little bit of early pace, and you might get a little bit of trouble along the way. But like that, to me, was a hell of a run. And even though it hadn't the long break, it had a month off there between January and the end of February, I think it stepped forward with each of the 3 runs since. And I think that was a lovely run. And you might say it was a bit disappointing, but it's the type of dog I feel on that run alone now. I know we've seen the ability in there all along, but on that run, I think it's the type of dog that can be dangerous in any heat. I just love the tracking ability and the determination to get to the front and to go on and win clearly. You might say with Park Blake. I think Park Blake, okay. I don't think you're being unfair. I wouldn't say that, but I think we all know that since the time in Limerick when he wowed us in the stage of the Ledger, and kind of it didn't happen from the rest of that competition, and he's been that kind of dog since, hasn't he? The kind of one where there are flashy runs, but there's no real consistency in it. Consistency. When I talk about that, I'm talking about as a punter. If you want to back the dog, you're not really certain what you're going to get, I think, with Park Blake. And I think he's seriously fast, as talented as most dogs in the country. Wouldn't be a million miles off the top dogs in the country, but just don't know what you'll get for definite. I didn't come away, though. I didn't come away from that heat thinking about Park Blake. I came away thinking, wow, that was a lovely run from Stories Cash Out.
Yeah, he looked at a serious greyhound in his early days, and it's just never really happened for him. Now he's only in November 20. You know what I mean? We only
Yeah,
spoke about
yeah,
Trinity Juniors as September 20 coming on for runs. Now he's had plenty of experience stories catch out. That was his 24th run the other night, but maybe we are at a stage where the penny is now really starting to drop, and maybe he is going to be a dog who, in his second full
yeah.
season, is going to produce the runs. Certainly, he has the pace, and yeah, it was evident the other night, Carl. He's not a he's a dog you certainly wouldn't mind in your kennel.
No, definitely not. I think I agree with you. I mean, the first thing you see Park Blake lead, you think he's going to win. You know, he's not a dog that you expect to get picked up. And I same as you, I thought was slightly disappointing. And you know, my comments with the two was he left a few lengths on the track. So to beat a dog like Park Blake and leave a few lengths on the track, you have to take the tools run serious. The cash out dog. But yeah, I mean, I was same as you, very bit disappointed with Park Blake when he seen the turn where he were. You think he'd go on and win the race. And in fairness to the dog, he's got an horrendous draw in the next round, drawn 5. And yeah, maybe he's the one. Maybe this I think he's into his 3rd season. You know, it might be just lacking that. You know, that top class thing. Just I think last year we had him favourite for the Derby at this stage, or second favourite. So maybe just he's a year older, but maybe catching up with him. But no, you can't take it away from the winner. Stories cash out. Forced to check a few times and still couldn't beat the dog. What a clear run.
Yeah, he certainly has the engine. Park Blake second. Hello, Mom third. She really is running very, very well for Amelia Liam O'Connor. Didn't get her got a good start the other night, but just didn't get loose on the bunny. But she's definitely progressive. And Ken, if Liam had won in the semi-finals at Easter Cup, he'd probably lose his life, Tommy. Moving on to the third heat. Great character. Going on to the third heat of the BresBet Easter Cup, where Swords Rex, as you said, you alluded to it earlier on, Tommy, was 1-4, Swords Rex, but just didn't quite get the start that he has been getting. And in contrast, his kennel companion Galloping Sydney, who was so impressive in the early rounds of the Gold Cup and always, was just foot perfect last time out in Curraheen Park. I think he really is a progressive tracker. He was good last year. He has potential to be very good this year. If Wimbledon was still the home of the English Greyhound Derby, this is a dog you'd love to be bringing to Plough Lane. Sadly, it's not. But Galloping Sydney is a dog we could see plenty of this year. I was particularly pleased by the way that he got the 550 yards. Obviously, he's getting things his own way out front. Carl, I'll go to you. Firstly, Swords Rex is beaten, but he can't be foot perfect every single evening. Here Comes Sid showed lots of pace as well, but your take on the race?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 comeback runs in look perfect. This was the real Swords Rex that this form that we saw last year from breaking 28 seconds in Cheltenham is a serious animal. And yeah, that's he's got. I mean, 1-4 would probably maybe a bit too short for him, but no, he looked unbeatable, and you've got to give credit to his kennel mate who Galloping Sid, and he's another dog. His strike rate is fantastic. He never runs a bad race, that dog. He's another proper competition dog. And when he gets it right like that, and he's shown that pace, he's hard to beat. I'm sure Sword Rex will come on again for that run. And yeah, like you say, he can't be ultra consistent every time. He's drawn one again. He's got the draw again. But the Galloping Sydney, when you called it in running, he kicked again coming up. He found that he literally found a second wing. He's coming off the back. He looked like he was going to tire a little bit, but he actually kicked away. And with pace like that, he's going to take some stopping. I think he's going to be he's my dark horse for the outright for me. Is Galloping Sydney.
I got to tell you, he's not too dark nowadays.
Yeah, no.
Tommy,
about a 12-1 shot.
Galloping Sydney is now 16 wins from 28. Obviously, also owned by Una Creed, who owns Park Blake. He has blistering early speed, 17-14 to the third bend the other evening. Now, it was off at 3:46. It looked a bit quicker than 3:46, but you take in the fact that that's a March track. You put that on top of the ground, like he's breaking 17 seconds. Any dog breaking 17 seconds is absolutely motoring to the third bend. I thought it was a hell of a run.
Yeah, it was a hell of a run because, Swords Rex never really threatened to get a delayed love on him. Really, kind of showed pace all right, as you'd expect from Swords Rex. But Galloping Sydney was kind of in control of this one. You say reasonably comfortably in control of the race from an early stage. Thought Here Comes Sid, obviously a dog who's had issues. he's a very likely race for his age. He showed tremendous pace. I actually was encouraged by the fact that Swords Rex was able to kind of battle on and touch him off for second place, because Here Comes Sid is a powerful runner. Galloping Sydney, yeah, it's funny that Galloping Sydney's only had 4 runs over 550, isn't it? Just be interesting to see how he goes on from this, in terms of, or if he's led any night over 550, just see how he copes with it. That would be my concern. But in terms of, like you said, the sectional 346, you can definitely improve upon that. He did a 331 in Cork the previous outing, and which is very good. Like, it's probably 331 is probably slightly lower 340s, maybe down towards 340 itself, equivalent to that. So he can definitely shave something off it. Yeah. And if you saw him earlier in the year in Shelburne, 208s and 209s, it's that suggests about a 240 or a 340 section. So you can improve on that. But I'd just be interested to see what happens when he's led in a 550, and it's going to get fiercely competitive from here on in. So I'd hold on having a bet on it at the moment. That's what I would do now in this competition.
Yeah, you make the assumptions that he will be led. Obviously,
I am.
He can't always get a flyer, but like, he's out in trap 5 next night. So again, a tricky draw, but he really should be leading that field up with maybe Stream of Sydney can go up fast on his inside, but again, he's going to be very hard to contain into that opening corner. Swords Rex, Tommy, you mentioned there. Yeah, it's funny, like, for a dog as prolific as he is, it's not often you've seen him come from off the pace. Now, most of the times he hasn't had to come from off the pace because he's been on the bunny. And the one run that was on his card there the other evening, just of the 5 form, was the night he picked up Serene Ace. Now, Serene Ace isn't a stout stair. That's 90 to 27 at 99 around Curraheen Park, but he is a very natural starter normally. So we'll forgive him for that run the other evening. And I assume he'll be favoured, despite the fact he's taken on Ballymacfin in the second round from an ideal draw. Back in third spot in that contest, of course, we had Here Comes Sid. You've mentioned him, Tommy, a dog with loads of pace. Obviously, he's had his problems, but he buckets of pace. He's a dog I like calling. Obviously, it just works well for a commentator. Here Comes Sid, but very, very fast greyhound. We'll move on to Heat 4. And here, Bocco's Crystal, while she wasn't the fastest, I wrote in my report, she was perhaps one of the most impressive. Little bit tighter room in the early yards, and just suddenly burst through the gap and, found herself in a challenging position to the corner, takes a bump. Not very hard, not very easy to see on the video, but in real time, she took a notable enough bump. I don't know whether it's just the definition isn't great on the video, but the bump was more noticeable in real life, shall we say. She got going again. She's carried wide down the back straight. She charges into the third bench. She takes over. She stays stoutly. She's won over 600 yards. She's just a thoroughly, thoroughly likable performer. Carl, you'd know Bev and Graham, who own her. Obviously, Graham Holland trains her. She's bomb-proof, really.
Yeah, she is. She's another competition bitch. She's a solid competition bitch. She's a great bitch. Like you said, bitches can be, taking knocks like that. He didn't show that much on the video. It didn't seem, but I'll take your word that it was a lot worse. For him to come back from that and still find the ways through, and to come home like she did. Yeah, the time's not there, but she's shown in the past when she can get it right and she comes her way better. She can put them flashy runs in them times. I mean, she's as fast as anything. She's probably the fastest as any bitch in the country, in Ireland, when she gets it right. And yeah, she's definitely one that will go a long way in this competition, because she's going to be able to keep out the first 3.
Yeah, she is very hard to keep out the front 3. Obviously, in second spot, Capitan Garfio ran a fine race. He's obviously a member of a very fast litter. He's a brother to Ballymacfin, who we'll be talking about later and whatnot. He's prolific himself. He did everything right. He's been in tremendous form. He does an estimated 28.46 the previous week, and in reality, the bitch showed lengths more pace than him. Yeah,
that was it. She, you say that gives her more value for the time. The time was up there, but the caliber of dogs that she beat shows, that you can put a line through you said it in your report. Put a line through the time and just take the performance on each eye and not the clock.
Yeah, this was sort of suggesting to me that the track was getting a little bit back, because this was 1:30:02, and the following heat 29:90, and you think to yourself, God, maybe the track is going back a little bit. But then we had the 29:60 from Ballymacfin. We'll get to that in a few minutes, Tommy. Bocco's Crystal, we've spoken about her plenty of times before. Just she just has it all, really.
Yeah, I don't read her at this stage of the competition as a likely winner of it, but she's a most likable bitch. I mean, she's got tremendous ability, and as Carol said, and this is an important point for her, is that when she does miss it, she just stays so well. She can find a way into the next round if things don't go against her. Like that's why, as Carol said, about her being a competition bitch, she's a smashing sort. Like she really is. Um, there's not a lot to dislike. If you had to find a point, if you're looking from a betting angle, you say she might lack that little bit of early pace when it comes to the top grade. The top dogs in the country kind of taking her on. She might, and she has a tricky draw next week. So you'd wonder how she's going to find her way out of it. But no, look at. She's a smashing bitch. I like to also say, just meant Capitan Garfio, Ken Bustede. If you're looking for people who really love the game, like that man is doing some amount of traveling up and down from Cork every week with Capitan Garfio. And in fairness, the dog is rewarding with plenty of wins and all that. But just great to see, because Ken would be in Youghal one night, and next night he'd be in Curraheen, and the following night he'd be up in Shelburne Park, like constantly on the go.
Yeah, at least, as you say yourself, Tommy, it makes it a bit easier when you have a decent one to be traveling with, and Capitan Garfio is just running his heart out for him.
Well, effectively, I wouldn't like to be having his diesel bill now. That's all I know, anyway.
500 or 600 quid a race up to Shelburne might help us. At Toolmaker Wild, Tommy, speaking of competition dogs, ran on strongly to grab third. Somewhat surprising that Disco Pants didn't hold on for third, having been third down the back straight. It got very tight for the minor placings. Barefoot's Primo's denied a place in the second round. I know he was crying out for races. Paul is desperate to get runs into him. His plan is to go to Toaster. He was denied by a short head, but Toolmaker Wild running on very strongly, and Disco Pants, very consistent tracker going through it as well.
I think what Paul said is important as well, that in the sense that at this stage of the year there are a lot of greyhounds who are looking for runs, and you'll forgive a dog that ran well on Saturday night in the first round and we mightn't have seen much of recently, and then if it runs badly next weekend, of course Connections want him to go all the way to the final and win it, but you forgive any dog at this stage of the season who might have a little bit of a hiccup. Toolmaker Wild is just a very strong dog. Ran Bacchus Crystal to half a length a couple of weeks ago, doing 29.75. It's 50 spots back there, and what it was doing the other night in defeat. But when it gets a bit of daylight, very, very fast dog as well. I think it has, what has it got in its car? 29.67 on a track rate of 20.
That was in the depths of the cold and miserable weather.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Heat 5. Here we have Callaway Pro-Am. Certainly living up to his name. This was a thoroughly professional display. Popped out, got clear early, raced into a 5-length lead by halfway, and just maintained it all the way to the line. I was somewhat shocked by the 29.90, I have to admit, Carl. It just looked thoroughly professional out front. Don't get too hung up by the time. He did 29.56 last week and did a 28.21 trial a couple of weeks prior to that. So this is a dog that's just bubbling away nicely. Obviously, he was beaten favourite in our Derby final last year. He's a big player in the competition.
Yeah, 100%. Sunday morning when we were doing the anti-post prices, we just had to keep ignoring the fact that the time was there, because to the eye, I thought on the night it was the most impressive to the eye, and I couldn't have the time. It just threw me. I was trying to find out where they were at next day. He was the anti-post favourite before the competition, and he still is the anti-post favourite. You have to, everything he did was impressive. The way he started, got to the front. And it was only the sound that threw me. And I think it's like you said, the track had to be going backwards. And I know Ballamat Finkelman did that, but it had to be going backwards because that performance was never, it was never in line with that time. But to the eye, he was so impressive. And for me, he's drawn perfect in the next round. And I think he's the one they still all have to beat. He's still the favourite for us. And yeah, he's a great dog. I mean, he was great in last year's Derby, and he's picked off this year, coming back where he left off.
Tommy, Callaway Pro-Am, it has to come with the caveat that he wasn't, I'm not saying he wasn't beaten much, but it certainly wasn't the strongest of heats. Like the dog that finished second, Bacchus Vieira, hasn't won a race since last July. He's had obviously injury and training problems, and he's returning after a lengthy layoff. Thought McNeil ran very well in third, strong running display. He caught the eye in Limerick the previous night behind Ballymac Jonjo, a dog we think an awful lot of. But Callaway Pro-Am, he couldn't have done much more out front.
I don't think so. He was effectively just different league. That's the long and the short of it. It doesn't matter the time and the distance, to be honest about it, because when you're beating a dog like Bacchus Vieira has tremendous ability and is effectively getting a solo in behind. and you're beating him without ever having to break sweat nearly. I think Callaway Prom, I'm like Carl on this one. I was deeply impressed by this. I loved it. And look, the time can be confusing, because if you look at his trials, recently, okay, and this is before he ran last on the 4th of March when he beat Roman Magico doing 29.56. Prior to that, 28.21 Shelburne Park 5.25, 18.41 for the sprint in Shelburne, 17.43 Cork, and they're all runs coming back off a 5 week break. Like, they're huge, and they just tell me when this dog gets 2 or 3, 4 runs in under his belt, he's going to do some run. It's those runs are those trials and what he's building towards now are proof that he was a deserving Derby finalist last year. I know he was a beaten favourite, but he was a deserving Derby finalist. And you know what? I think Connections will be fairly excited that the fact that he's back in such good form again, and that they'll be building towards something similar this year.
Yeah, well, there has been reportedly money for him for the Derby this year already.
Really?
That was before he even returned, so they clearly fancy his chances of going far. 359.
But Owen, sorry,
he didn't go ahead.
Sorry, Ian, but Owen is brilliant too at this. He yes, it'd be great to win the Easter Cup. Of course, it wouldn't. It's one of the most prestigious competitions in the country. But Owen is brilliant at keeping a little bit, knowing that if he goes to the well too often this stage of the season, that the dog won't be a Derby dog. Owen will know what he needs to do.
Yeah, 359 the other night. Like, he didn't take a flyer.
Yeah.
I didn't think he did a 359 now. And 1725. The 1725 stacks up well when you consider 359. Because this is a dog that has a 341 and 342 in his card. So you take 17 spots off it, and he's all of a sudden he's doing close enough to 17 seconds to the third bend. And yeah, I think there's far better to come from him. Boccas Vieira second and McNeil third. McNeil, keep an eye up McNeil. I'd say he'll rock up in the Shelburne Open 600 and could certainly play a part. He seems to be really coming to hand at the right time. On to the final heat of the round. And this was, obviously on paper, very, very hot indeed. And a tremendous winner, Ballymacfin. Stream of Sydney broke fastest. She sort of disputed it, led into the bend with Romeo Magico and Ballymacfin chasing her. Now, Romeo Magico made his move up the inside. He brushed Stream of Sydney as he entered the back straight, and all of a sudden, Ballymacfin sort of, I'm not say found himself in front. He was driving anyway. He was going to be very close to being challenging her halfway, but as it was, he probably got to the front that little bit earlier. He has great back straight pace. He went on to win in 29.66, easily the fastest run of the round. Tommy, I'll go to you this time. Ballymacfin, our Derby runner-up last year. All signs would suggest he's going to be every bit as good, if not better, this year.
Yeah, I think you said, like, he kind of, not that he found himself, but he drove into a position. I think that's what Ballymacfin does. He drives himself, into kind of tight spaces, and he's kind of a brave dog. You love the way he gallops. I have a suspicion, would he get any further than 550? I'm not sure.
I think that's it. I think as soon as he hits the line, I think he's done. But I think he sees it out well. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah.
I'm not questioning that at all.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning that at all. But I think he just gets to 515. That's about as far as he might want. He's look at. There have been signs this year. He got picked up late in the final of the Kingdom Derby. Did he? Is that right? I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, he'd been off a short while. I thought this was another fabulous run, and I think I don't know what Carl will tell us his prices in a minute, maybe, but like, I think he has to be standing out with Callaway Pro-Am as the leading fanciness. Yes, when you got a dog like Swords Rex, you can never have him too far off the top of the betting, because we know what he can do when he does things right. But this was a brilliant sign for what we're expecting for the season ahead for Ballymacfin, I thought. And I have to say, I know I did say about the trip and the 550 for Ballymacfin. And when you do things wrong, you're more likely to kind of come back a little bit late on. But I did love the way Stream of Sydney stayed to the line, and Clona Blue as well. And Clona Blue, definitely. I thought they were very good efforts in defeat behind a really, really top dog, properly top class dog. Like.
Yeah, Carl, there's just a touch of class to him, isn't it? He knows what it's about. He knows when to drive, when not to drive. And when he does get loose, he can run. He was picked up by, as Tommy said, in the very final stride in the Kingdom Derby. That was by Ballymacwispa. Now, she would pick up an airplane. You know what I mean? She's very, very fast and strong. But this was a great run by Ballymacfin. And as Tommy alluded to, a fine run by Stream of Sydney also.
Yeah, I think in fairness, this was the best heat. The last heat was the best heat in the Odyssey of the night. you got Derby winning there, like say you got Derby running up and Ballarat Finn, you got the English Derby winner. It was a great performance from Ballarat Finn. I was questioning, the race before we counted the programs, and to see this clock, the 29.6, he was checking the value that it's gone back. It was a fantastic one. Something else I noticed about Ballarat Finn, I might be wrong, but he was a lot. He looks like he's got a bit of winter conditioning as well, running at £77 compared to his 72 for the Irish campaign. So maybe he's left a bit to work with. If there's improvement on that run, then they can get, he's a serious dog for going forward this year.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of winter condition, that
It's
Carl.
I mentioned, I know how he feels, but yeah.
No, we're just trying to make Tommy feel better about himself.
I just think, even with any bit of improvement, even on these conditions, I think he had one run in January, and that's his, his next run of the year. It's frightening how much more could become from this dog.
It's funny you mentioned that. Like the bitch stream of Sydney was up 2 pounds the other evening, so she's been racing at 65. She was 67 the other night. I just wonder, has she been off the bench too often since the Gold Cup? So she could come on for the run. There's no question, Tommy, she's very talented, but the crux of the matter is just getting to that opening corner, a bit like Bocco's Crystal. Will she just be that yard shy when it gets really tight?
Yeah, but I think she breaks well. Just she might lack that tiny bit of early pace to the bend, but when she bumped herself and Ballymount Finn bumped the first bend, and then she got slightly clipped from behind, but she picked up well actually in commentary, I have to say, because it's very slight. On the video, certainly, you see something might have happened, but it seemed kind of minimal. But definitely, Ballymount Finn drove on from there. You just love the attitude of Stream of Sydney. There's more to come from her. I think she is. I think she is probably a finalist. She'll find a way to get into the final. I think that's the type of bitch she is. I think she's that good.
Yeah, we have to mention Romeo Magical, Carl, the English Derby champion, of course. He's shown loads of pace in his previous 2 outings. And the other night, just found himself a little bit squeezed the room and just never really happened for him. But it's too early in the year to say it, but I was a little bit disappointed when he went into the opening corner. From his start, I thought he'd nearly be up inside the bitch by the corner, but probably just still sharpening up a bit.
Yeah, I think that might be. Is when he's going to the bend, you think, he's going to be in that position to turn. But I know he got. I'd say rubbed against the bitch. I won't say he got checked. He was more of he didn't get through when his chance was there.
You know what they say in Days of Thunder, rubbing is racing.
Yeah, Although, yeah, he can forgive him that. I think I said mentioned. I think there's 5 or 6 things you can forgive, but will improve no end. I think he fits that bill definitely, because I think he's drawing in the next round. He's drawn very well, and I think he'll take a big step forward. And I know we discussed him last year in this competition, and we said then that he looked the ideal toaster dog for the Derby, and luckily he went on to win it. So.
I don't mean to denigrate your own competition, but I think they have the rise of one prize this year, and that's a return to Toaster.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and he would fit the bill. He fits the bill because he runs that place so well. But I still think I think he'll go well on Saturday. I think he'll get to a semi-final at least of this competition, and he definitely fits the bill. One of them what will be better for the run.
Yeah. All in all, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for the opening round, with plenty of the leading protagonists going to improve greatly for the runs, as you've suggested, Carl. There is a bracket of greyhounds there where you can see them improving 2-3 lengths, and with track conditions probably speeding up. Weather conditions are starting to ease off here in Dublin. It's getting a bit warmer. You can see something we'll be doing 29-20, 29-30 by the end of this competition. And, I think it's going to get pretty hot pretty quickly. Like, we're going to take a look at the quarterfinals now. There's not much room for error. No, I mean that was my angle Sunday morning, looking at the repricing, and we thought we could stay strong because there's so many dogs. I think it's still a wide open competition. You can make case for 7 or 8. It's definitely not down to most competition where there's 1 or 2 runners. There's 7 or 8 dogs in there that'll all come forward and can we'll take a big hand in the competition. We can keep it wide open. We have Calway Pro Am, the 4-1 favourite, and Ballymount Finn and Swords Rex next in at 6-1 joints, and then he's 10 bar, it's 9's bar then. But I think you can make a case for the top 8, 7 or 8. I think that 6-1 for Swords Rex. I think you'll get interested in that. I just do.
Yeah,
I can see your argument for it, but I just think they'll be interested in that. Tommy, all in all, cracking competition, great start, but better to come.
All better to come all right, because it's, as I said earlier on, they're at the stage of the season where they're just going to be coming out and kind of, building with every run, and sometimes when you do that, you risk the run of going out of a competition. So it's not the biggest deal in the world if that happens, for all that's ahead in the season. But it is a fantastic one. Just looking like some of the names that are in there, like for the next round, like it's serious stuff. Are we going to go through the heats individually?
Yeah, we'll take a quick look through the heats. The opening heat, Capitan Garfio, Stream of Sydney, Ballymac Joey, Kilcolgan Comet, Galloping Sydney. Here comes Sid. We're looking at Stream of Sydney and Galloping Sydney. Obviously, the two Sydneys there are going to dominate the market, although Here Comes Sid will certainly be probably, in fact, I'd say he's certainly be third in. But it's going to be an interesting one to see if Galloping Sydney can clear the pitch quite handily. He's going to need to get 2 or 3 lengths in her, because she'll be absolutely hammering home. Tommy, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, like the draw for Stream of Sydney is pretty poor, and the draw for Galloping Sydney is absolutely ideal. In the sense of it's flanked by not very fast breakers. Ballymac Joey showed a real tendency to move inwards the other night. Capitan Garfio has early pace. Stream of Sydney, now I would suggest Stream of Sydney has a class advantage, and it's quite possible that she could lead Capitan Garfio into the bend. If that happens, she'll probably win the heat. But if you were to say now, I think Galloping Sydney will have to be favoured. I think Stream of Sydney is a slightly faster greyhound.
Yeah. Carl?
Yeah, the same. I thought it might be a Sydney 1, 2, 3, 5 to beat 2 and 6. But yeah, I think it's. I mean, I know that happens quite a lot for you now on a Saturday night.
This droopy Sydney fella, he doesn't have a bad old record. He's 4 of them in this heat, by the way. Just the 4, yeah.
I love looking at that. I mean, I'm a big fan of his. We were breeding that we're doing. Yeah, but no, I see the 5. I think I'd have to be with a 5 on the run last week, and with the 2 staying on to chase it, and the same again, the 6 staying on. He's another strong type. Ballymac Joey, I thought we were a bit disappointed overnight. I didn't, I expected a bit more from him. Whether he, can put that right, this week, but I did expect a bit more from him.
I'm assuming, he's now 72 pounds the last night on the card. He raced 79, just to say he didn't drop 7 pounds.
Yeah, maybe that's a misprint.
Tommy, that's a typical bookie, tipping up the one that's going to be in front. Huh? They love a front runner, don't they?
Yeah, well, it's right. It's reading the market, and other people are going to do the same thing. So, like, I mean, the first place you go to is I know you go from the creed that always go with the fastest dog in the race, and if I was to do that, I'd be going with
not always, but yes, largely I tend to. Yeah.
Well, if you're ever in doubt, pick the fastest dog in the race. Forget the draws and all that. If you're ever in doubt, just go with that. But I just think the draw is so good for Galloping Sydney. I do think Stream of Sydney is faster, and I think that'll be borne out over the course of the year. But for this occasion, like if the 2 of them are ideally drawn, I'd go Stream of Sydney every time.
Yeah. Because
I think she's so strong and she's capable of turning reasonably close. But the draw is just a little bit of a concern. Ballymac Joey going in, Capitan Garfio going up well. If Stream of Sydney has a tough task in the first 25, 50 yards. And so Galloping Sydney is the likely leader. I'd have to go 5-2, and I don't know what, maybe 6. I'd like to see Capitan Garfio for Ken Bastide, but I'd say 6 ran very well. Here comes Sid ran, he's obviously loads of problems, 7 or 8 runs since in August 20 Greyhound. But he's very, very fast. So, and that was a good run the other night as well. So
yeah, I just wonder, Galloping Sydney, like while he is well drawn, given the amount of early speed around him. Prior to last week, Trap 5 was going to be a major issue for me. He's definitely an inside runner, but he managed it he handled it so well last week that I think you can just say that second season Greyhound now, he's more mature in himself, and I don't think it'll be an issue going forward, whatever draw he's in, given his early speed.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right, but if you could have a dog that's an inside seed, right, and a tight raider, but you'd still prefer the dog to come out of trap 3 or 4 to go into the bend to get a better run at the bend, if you know what I mean. Yeah. If you're guaranteed there's going to be nothing in the inside, if you're going to try the dog, you won't try him from trap 1 usually. You probably put him in the middle somewhere and let him get a good run at the bend and run around it. So
the argument is also, like, in a race full of inside seeds, you want to be in the outside. That's where you want to be. Often if certainly in a race of 6 inside seeds, I'd nearly back 6 blind. You know what I mean? Yeah. On to the second heat, where Swords Rex takes on Ballymac Finn. Park Blake is out in 5, and All for the Best is out in 6. All for the Best can certainly stay on strongly to get involved, but this is very much a two-dog affair in terms of the market. Carl, Swords Rex and Ballymacphil will take up huge percentage here. Swords Rex, I'm going to say, is going to start favourite, but I'll leave that up to those that know in the ring.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, the two at the top of the market, behind Pro-Am, and it's going to be hard to split them. I think the fact that Swords Rex on his previous 5-2-5 run and going off fours on, he'll start favourite, but it won't be a great deal in it. It'll be Ballymacphil won't be far behind him. It looks a pure match for me, and I find it very difficult to split them. If anything, if I were forced to make a selection, I'd go Finn over Rex, but that'd just be. I just think the Finn dog's got some. He's just, for me, he's a dog going forward for this year, and I think 6 looks another great well draw on the outside. With Park Blake in 5 picking up the 3rd spot. So splitting 1 and 3 with 6 in 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, the trio always, Tommy, 1, 3, 6 probably won't pay you very well.
How we ruling out Park Blake? Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Ballymacphil is well, I don't know what to make of Swords Rex. That in terms of he needs to sharpen up quite a bit. I'm still a bit confused by your logic of going for trap 6 and there are 6 inside seeds. That has me. I'll have to chew on that one for a while. You're a bit of a concern. I think Ian might have paused there too, or else on the video we might have to wait for him to come back. But I'd be like you, Carl. I'd probably think that maybe Ballymacphil is going to step up considerably. So is Swords Rex. We know Swords Rex only 2 runs ago did 27.99, so he doesn't have to. He just needs to sharpen up or needs to do things right. Ballymacphil is going to strengthen up and has 29.32 on his card for 550. We're not expecting that next week. We mightn't expect it for the competition, but I definitely think a step up. It's not that bad a draw for Ballymacphil either. I would just slightly favour him over Swords Rex.
Okay. I'm going to go 1, 3, 6. I think that's the way they'll finish. Swords Rex is much sharper at boxes normally than he was the other evening, and I think if he gets first run, I don't think there's a Greyhound in training to pick him up. Yeah, it's Park Blake is out in 5. He's going to need to do everything right to get involved. Crows Road and Pied Piper, you'd imagine, would be very, very big prices. On to the 3rd heat, where Callaway Pro-Am is very well housed in 1, Tommy, because we have seen Trinity Junior in the past. While he is an inside seed, he ran very well from 5 the other evening, and from the inside in the past, he has definitely moved out to the middle of the track, and you would imagine a Callaway Pro-Am will get a lovely seam up the inside. Boccos Crystal will obviously be a big player. You could see Clona Blue getting involved, Stories Cash Out. It's an intriguing battle, but Callaway Pro-Am will be pretty short, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you're dead right. Trinity Junior is very important. He's probably key to this heat because he can go up extremely well. Wouldn't necessarily call him an absolute lightning breaker, but he has massive early pace, tends to edge off a little bit. I don't know. I might be confusing. Was another top 5 heat winner the other night, but maybe did he slightly jink even when he ran into the bend the other night, but jink out a bit. He's seriously fast, Trinity Junior. As I said earlier on, he came away with a a lot more respect for him than I already had. I think he's a seriously good dog. But if he does move off a little bit, it's just going to beg Callaway Pro-Am to take advantage along the inside. Trinity Junior could be a thorn in the side of the likes of Boccos Crystal, who can show has the kind of early pace, what I would call in this level, the kind of early pace that gets you into trouble. Not enough to clear the top dogs, but enough to be in among them at the first bend. You know what I'm saying? But
I know exactly what you're saying. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
She has that's it. The type of early pace to get you in trouble. Stories Cash Out ran. In fact, this is a really hot heat because Clone Blue stays so well. It can pick up pieces, but then you've got to think that it's going to have Boccos Crystal, Stories Cash Out probably in front of it. And how is it going to get by both of those to grab a spot? Will Trinity Junior be strong enough? Or Trinity Junior probably needs to be sure to lead Callaway Pro-Am out of the second bend to have a chance of qualifying. Because if Callaway Pro-Am has mastered Trinity Junior by that stage, then you're looking behind going Boccos Crystal, Stories Cash Out, Clone Blue. I'm in trouble here. I don't see Trinity Junior falling away. I don't think he's a dog. If he's led, he falls back. I think he'll continue going to the line. If he does his 29.80, he should be okay. It's not a case of them falling behind. But what happens is when you're behind a Greyhound, because of the racing, you change your racing line, you change a few things. It might only cost you, if he gets a clear run in behind Callaway Pro-Am, it's still going to cost him a couple of lengths, because Callaway, if he's trying to challenge the leader, he's going to be trying to go inside or outside, or forced to take a slightly different line than you normally would take. So I think it'll cost him a couple of lengths. I'm not saying he can't improve on his clock, but I'd be surprised if he does 29.80 from behind, unless Callaway Pro-Am is away and gone, which I don't think will happen. I think Trinity Junior is the likely early pace setter. So I'm hoping that Stories cash out. That wasn't a kind of a false run. I really, really liked that the other night. So I think I'm obviously going to go Callaway Pro-Am, but I'm going to find a way for Stories cash out to get into the semi-finals.
Carl, I'm going to say that I think Callaway Pro-Am will lead early. I think Trinity Junior taking those 3 or 4 steps right won't have the same level of forward momentum as Callaway Pro-Am, and I think Pro-Am will lead into the opening corner and go on to land the spoils, but I think it gets very tight thereafter. What's your view?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's probably the best drawn dog of the night when you look at the 4 quarterfinals. His pace on night, his sectional didn't look great, but for me, to the eye, he just looked like he got enough, and he's just got that raw ability to pace to the bend, and he'll clear. Even if he turn level with it too, I think run the bet, he'll rail on the bend, and that'll take him to the front. I think the two, and I've watched a few of his races back, and he does have that tendency to move a bit more middle from the inside, and I think it's for me to be playing. He's playing for places. He's picking out what's going to get the running behind. And for me, the Bockos Crystal, but she can do it in every way possible. So, I think I fancy Bockos Crystal to follow him home Pro-Am, and I was the same. I was very impressed with Stories cash out last week, and if he can find some sort of gaps, I put him down as the 3rd qualifier. But I think for this race, you're looking past the one, and you're looking. It's a fight for the places.
Yeah, I tend to agree. On to the last of the 4 heats, where it's Toolmaker Wild, Romeo Magical, Hello Mom, Girano Supreme, Boccos Vieira, and Disco Pants. It's by no means the hottest of the 4 heats. Normal convention would say that Romeo Magico should be too good for them, given his best form, but just want to be doing things right in the early yards. Hello Mom is capable of a very fast start. Toolmaker Wild is strong. Girano Supreme will probably struggle. Boccos Vieira should come on for his last run. He'll need to. Disco Pants will need to produce the best form he showed in the Gold Cup. Tommy, it's Romeo Magico's to lose, although there is room for him to lose.
Yeah, he want to do things very wrong to lose here. I mean, it's a draw and a half. You have a dog inside you, do 370 and 365 in his last 2 runs. I mean, I probably dip under 370. Like Romeo Magico only has to break, I think, to win, because his pace into the bend, even though, like you said, you were disappointed a little bit the other night, his pace into the bend will have him around in front, and he will win.
That wasn't the hottest heated around the other night, whereas this is the weakest heated around this week.
Yeah, this is he's a penalty kick.
Carl.
Yeah, well, I said Pro-Am was one of the best drawn dogs of the night. When I looked at this, I thought Magico was the best drawn dog of the night. I thought with the one in his inside, he's got a solo to win. Even if the 3 catches the best break, I think Magico would sit with it and take it up off the second. And I'm a bit like Tommy. I think he's just a case of sorting out the placings, because I'd make him a serious bet in this race.
If we look at the 12 fastest dogs, if they all progress, from the various heats, that obviously it can only be 3 from each heat, but it's shaping up like a very, very hot Easter Cup. Carl, I'm going to ask you what you think is the most likely winner. You've made Callaway Pro-Am your clear favourite, but is that your most likely winner?
No, for me, if I was, for me, personal bet would be Ballymatfin. I just think he's got just that little bit more of a scope, and yes, we'll ignore the times the other night, but if to go 30 spots or 25 spots faster than Pro-Am the race after, the way he did, for me, I just think he could be the most progressive.
Tommy.
I'm with Finn, and I was going to look at the prices. There weren't. Yeah, I'm maybe not big enough to have a bet, but Stream of Sydney, I thought, would find a way into the final and can be a player. But look, she's probably, if you get a final with Pro-Am and Finn and Sora Drex in it, she's only a bit part player. But I think Finn is the most likely player. Like, you've got 6-1 Ballymatfin and 9-1 Stream of Sydney. It's 3 points between the 2 of those. I mean, there's a yawning gap, really and truly. Let's be honest about it. So I think 6-1 is actually fine value at Ballymatfin.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. It's hot. It's hot. If Swords Rex keeps getting red, he's got a habit of getting red. If he keeps getting it, I think he'll still be a big player in the competition. But huge respect for Callaway Pro-Am and Ballymacfin, Romeo Magico Stream of Sydney. It's pretty hot. It's not easy to pick a winner out of it. We look forward to the semi-finals the following week, but we've got 4 quarterfinals to look forward to at Curraheen Park on Saturday night. Again, no room for error. Gentlemen, we're going to touch on a couple of the other events. The Cesarewitch took place yesterday, the semi-finals from Mullingar. And Tommy, the first heat saw Jack Tavern Bella storming home after turning third to pick up Curraheen Sydney, who'd caught the eye in the opening round. They thought he looked a likely winner when going to the front off the second bend. But she is so strong, this Jack Tavern Bella. I wrote in the report this morning. I think she's far more than just a talented stayer nowadays. She seems to have added a lot more to her repertoire, and I think they're going to have some fun with her this year, be it over 4 or 6 bends.
Yeah, I think we talked about Jack Tavern Bella last year, and we might even have backed her in races that she probably couldn't have won. And we were hoping. It's clearly talent in the line. She's a little sister to Here Comes Sid, who has loads of ability as well. Maybe when they're such strong stayers, they tend to need a little bit more time. And I think this, even though this competition is fairly tough, you have to like the attitude. You have to like the attitude she shows and the ability. And I tell you what, all due respect to Mullingar, but it's a quirky track, and it suits those kind of clever trackers that can pick their way through a race, and which is sometimes what you need to do in Mullingar.
Thankfully, the 6 remaining runners in the final all seemed to handle the place well. Curraheen Sydney ran a wonderful second bend, took it up, but just found Jack Tavern Bella too strong. But that's not a problem. A lot of dogs would find her too strong if she was that close to them. Carl, did you catch up with the action yesterday?
No, I watched the replays this morning, Ian, and like you said, she looks a staying sensation in the making, doesn't she? Like I said, they'll have a lot of fun, and she can mix it both ways, standard and 6 bends. She'll definitely contest the big races over there, but it's just there's a bit of a lack of them, unfortunately. But yeah,
you would have liked you'd like to see her 660 around Sheffield now.
Yeah, she'd have been a great 3 steps to victory. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely a 3 steps. That you're definitely what you'd look for 3 steps. But,
moving on to the second heat, Bobsleigh Dream and Magical Mary. I was somewhat surprised, Tommy, that Magical Mary was favoured over Bobsleigh Dream from the draw. I know Cornetto was in the inside. Now things did get very easy for Bobsleigh Dream when Cornetto missed the kick and Bobsleigh took a flyer from trap 2. Once going to the front, she always looked likely to win. Thought she took a couple of little false steps in the race. Magical Mary did close up on a couple of occasions to be beaten just a length, but I think Bobsleigh Dream would probably win this more times than not, and she duly obliged in 33.04. It's a hell of a run for 600, considering, as I said, just a couple of those false steps. But huge run by Bobsleigh Dream.
She has a bit of personality, doesn't she?
She knows herself. She knows herself.
Like if you backed Magical Mary yesterday, you're probably thinking, I was unlucky. I didn't get a run here, didn't get a run there. But the truth is, Bobsleigh Dream, but Bobsleigh Dream's in front of you, you're not winning. It doesn't matter. She checked up at that third bend and gave away a bit of momentum. Her tail kind of rose up a bit because she tried to straighten herself on the third bend, and she did this wrong and did that wrong. And you say it was kind of easy because she got the run early, but she's a character. She's got so much ability. I just love that type of greyhound, I have to say. I had other things on. I was at 2 matches yesterday, so with kids, so I didn't get to see it live. And I would have taken a chance on Bobsleigh Dream at the price. But I will say, I'm a Dutchman at that distance. The winning distance is a length.
Yeah, it looked longer. I couldn't believe when I saw it. It looked a couple of lengths easy.
No, at least. What do you make of the winning distance, Carl?
Listen, I thought exactly the same. Actually, I didn't watch the replays this morning, and I was looking at the result, and I thought there's never a length in that. But
yeah, passing the camera, which is probably 10 yards before the line, it's definitely 2. Or, certainly close to 2. Yeah, it's a length and 3/4, or it's 2 lengths. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. Yeah. Who am I to question? The judge of Mullingar? Magical Mary ran very well.
They probably put a print up on Twitter now today or something and show it to me exactly length.
Well, I'm used to being wrong. I'm used to being wrong at the sprint finish because honestly, there isn't a man alive that could guess that finish, right? But
No, that's
definitely
not a
looked
length.
longer than the length. Yeah,
That's not
behind
a
there
length,
was
I don't
Fay
care.
Point David qualified back in third. Now he's obviously well beaten back in third, but he's qualifying. He's in a classic final. A fair play to all involved. They only recently purchased him and ran so strongly. He's a dog that ran very well of 600 six bends in Dublin recently, and they'll have a bit of crack with him later in the year. But looking at the final, it's. The draw has thrown it up now, gentlemen, because Magical Mary and Bobsleigh Dream are on the wrong side of each other. They're out in the middle of the track. Magical Mary wants the middle, Bobsleigh Dream wants the inside. Mary's in 3, Bobsleigh's in 4. If they do bump early, all of a sudden, Jack Tavern Bella and Curraheen Sydney are big players on the outside. Tommy.
Okay. Not I would think there'll have to be a nice bit of trouble because, like, I laugh at the way Bobsleigh Dream did it the other night. Magical Mary's extremely talented. Saw her one night in Curraheen Park. I'd say it was Laurel's final night, and the ground she made up was phenomenal. She got ability to burn. So I wouldn't underestimate her anyway. But my thoughts on when you have any little doubt, go the fastest. Bobsleigh Dream is a bit of ridiculous ability. Yes, if you swap them around, I'd be more confident. I think the people who backed Magical Mary in the 4-7 yesterday will think, you know what, we were a bit unlucky and she should be favoured next weekend. And I think she probably will go off favourite. But I'd still side with Bobsleigh Dream. I just love that type of bitch. Absolutely think she's fantastic.
Do you know when I thought Magical Mary was very talented? When she won her debut in 28-10 around Limerick. Off a 145 by 14 legs.
Split through that, yeah.
Carl offered $5,000 for her after that race.
I did inquire to Pat what would happen with her, yeah. I did. I remember that well.
The classic winning Magical Mary. Carl, she's something special.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed with Mullingar, looking at Carly, she's ultra consistent with the sectionals. I mean, she's 707 3 times on Mullingar. And I think if it does come a bit of an head-to-head with Bobsleigh, I think the draw might just put it in Mary's favour. I don't think I say she might start favouring. For me, you could bet 5-4 a piece, 11 or 8 a piece. You can't really split them. But I think that with a sectional, they'll just get the first run, and unless they cut each other's throat, then I'll take Mary to beat Bobsleigh.
I think.
Go ahead.
I do think Magical Mary will have to be a shade of odds on.
Yeah, well,
I do think she'd have to be. I do think so because I think from the draw, I think she's much less complicated. And if you think the way Bobsleigh Dream hung up in the third bend the other night, checked on or whatever. If she's behind at that stage and she checks or gives any bit of momentum away, she'll find it hard to catch Magical Mary. But I know, but like I'm contradicting myself here because my head would say I can't see myself backing Bobsleigh Dream because I know they won't go a big enough price to tempt me in. But if they went the wrong way with Magical Mary and put it up to 5-4, you'd nearly have to say I'd have to take a chance on Magical Mary. That's the way I see it. But then again, most betting should be based on what the price is anyway. So
yeah, I think you'll certainly get odds against. She's already
Magical Mary.
She's already odds against one firm. Joint favourites with the Derby sponsors. I'm just trying to open it up here. I think it was 6. I thought it was 6-4 each two. Yeah, 6-4 each of two. They're taking a chance.
6-4.
They're taking a chance that the two of them sort of cut each other's throat early, and Jack Tavern Bella and Curraheen Sydney might get involved. But yep, there you are now, Tommy. Get onto the blower. We'll move on.
I guarantee that will be gone. Because anybody who's standing there next week or whoever might will have to take the 6-4 Magical Mary. Like
so you're on Magical Mary then.
At the prices, I'd back Magical Mary, but I just think I think Bobsleigh Dream is so ridiculously talented. I just love that type of greyhound. Yeah. I love the ones that have a bit of a quirk but still find a way to win. And I just think back to the Ledger final. But I still think Magical Mary is the one that you say on that quirky track that Magical Mary is so uncomplicated. She has to be favoured.
Yeah, I'm going with Bobsleigh Dream. Just put that out there. I think she'll win.
What will go off favourite?
Well, it's on Race and Post Greyhound Television, so very much depends on the exchange, doesn't it? I would suggest that Bobsleigh Dream might just start marginal favourite. Anyway,
easy, and you like being wrong.
Well, no, listen, maybe that could be something to do with my
Joking,
thousand. Maybe that could be something to do with my thousands.
joking.
We'll move on. Newbridge on Friday evening. There was two wonderful semi-finals of the Brownstown Tango and Newbridge Track Supporters Unraced. This is turning into a cracking competition. Tommy, the two heats were very similar in a sense where the early pace setter was picked up late by strong challengers. All four first and second in each of the heats could play massive part in the final. The opening heat saw where's the opening heat? The opening heat was Burgess Orla picking up Boyle Sports Coco. Boyle Sports Coco had been so impressive in the opening round or in the previous round, 2-5 favourite the other evening, and somewhat surprising she was picked up having led, beaten only a half a length, but I thought it was a hell of a run by first and second in 28.67. Sunshine Zoe staying on well for third spot, and the other heat saw Crafty Shavu getting up to beat Ballyhimmick and Luck, again only a half length in 28.61, so a slightly faster run. Rowanna Butts catching the eye again, Tommy back in third, beating the neck. She's storming home. Obviously she's bred to stay further at a Blundell Spark, sister or half sister to Dana Point, but I think it's a cracking little competition this year, and I think the times are sort of throwing us a bit off. I think the times are better than that, but as you will testify, Newbridge is perhaps one of the coldest places on earth.
Second to Navan racecourse. But yeah, I thought Burgess Orla actually tracked exceptionally well, except for the time is very fast, 28.67. There's just a point in the crown going around the two bends where I think Sunshine Zoe is on her outside. And I just thought that maybe she just kind of paddled a little bit for a second. But other than that, she never left the rails. And, when Boyle Sports Coco moved middle, just coursed off the last bend, perfect racing line for a dog in front. Burgess Orla picked up, I think it was a remarkable effort to pick up Boyle Sports Coco. I was first of all, I think am I disappointed with the favourite, or I think I'm more impressed with the winner than I am disappointed with the favourite, to be honest about it, because the time was there as well. 28.67. Yes, it's 40-50 spots below what we've seen in years gone by and that sort of stuff. But I think that there's probably circumstances that'll tell us that that's all wrong, as you alluded to already. So I think that's a smashing effort by Burgess Orla.
Yeah, talented group. We're looking at a final now where literally only a matter of spots separating the six runners. It really makes for fascinating viewing. Carl, did you manage to dip into the competition?
No, I was in recovery mode on way back from Cheltenham Friday night, and so fighting the way out of there. So I missed that.
It's hard for you. It's hard for you to keep up. All you know is that there's some serious pedigrees on show, and that many of these will go on to stardom in the future. Keep an eye on them. Again, that's a cracking competition year in, year out, and this year's seems to be as strong as any previous renewal. Last mention, Tommy, Cork Oaks the other evening. Mary's Wedding, duly obliged at 1-2. She still seems to be coming to hand. This was far from the finished article, but won a length and a half. Crafty Jaco for a big race in second spot. Again, hard not to be impressed by Liscar of Lila in the second heat. She's really strong. She's very progressive. Big 72-pound bitch, beating a 73-pound bitch in Millridge Dolly, and Burgess Rapid back in third. It's a good little Cork Oaks.
That's a crack one. And yeah, we said it from the start that, Mary's Wedding being in the competition was kind of, she was a standout from the start. Crafty Jaco ran a superb race. But again, it does feel, like you said, that Mary's Wedding is just stepping up towards something. We know how good she is. Derby finalist and the like, so she's just top quality.
She's very talented. And looking at the final draw, where is Mary's Wedding drawn? Excuse me, I didn't have it open. Mary's Wedding has been drawn out in 5. Tommy, she'll need to be doing things right. Liscar of Lila is in 3. Burgess Rapid in 4 will probably edge inwards. So if Mary's Wedding comes away racing, she could easily overcome the draw.
It mightn't be too bad as it happens, but she has, I don't think there's any question. She has a class edge.
Yeah,
that's key. And plus, you've got Firehide Gem in 1 that might just prevent, well, more than likely will prevent Crafty Jaco getting a clear run in behind, and it might actually open up for Mary's Wedding, who doesn't dive to the rails or kind of doesn't do silly things on the track. Just she's experienced enough and classy enough. Yeah, even if the draw isn't exactly ideal, and these finals have a habit of throwing up a draw that just makes things a little bit more interesting than you might think. I still think she'll come away winning.
Yeah, indeed. Good Cork Oaks. Lots to look forward to at the weekend in Ireland. Of course, the Kirby Memorial gets underway. The draw will be, or has been made by the time you're watching this, at 3 p.m. We look forward to it. It's such an important competition in our calendar. And over the next few weeks, we'll be talking about that as well as the BresBet Easter Cup. Carl, plenty happening across in the UK. Lots of talented greyhounds around. A few, not the stoutest of stayers. It'll be interesting to come Derby time.
Yeah, that's plenty. We seem to be flooded with cat ones at the minute, and some nice puppy competitions just gone, Newcastle and Monmore. And yeah, there's some fantastic dogs in there, but they don't look toasted dogs to me. I haven't seen a dog, any of the pups or the young ones coming through that look like ideal toaster dogs. Brab and Liz have a nice dog, and he's serious when he puts it right. But he's he probably got more stamina than such as likes of Lynx Maverick and that. But yeah, I've still not seen the dog that I think he stands out for me. Perhaps it's got a nice kennel full of stuff. He'll have a few in there, and there's plenty of these Romeo dogs come over to have a tilt at it. They might be the ones to look at. But no, it's still very wide open. I think it's not really taken at this time. You don't have a better shape on it. But for me, it's still very wide open. Very unsure which Irish trainers will come and what will come and what won't come. So no, I think the Derby pitch is still a big. It's still a lot to go yet.
Yeah, I want to mention the Monmore Puppy Cup winner the other night, Brady's Bullet. He's very well bred. He's out of Early Rise, who I loved as a youngster around Shelburne Park. She's the Merriman breed. She goes back to Highview Beauty and Blue Highview and all them. She's loads of pace herself. She's after throwing a good litter. This Brady's Bullet came from well off the pace the other evening. You'd be a little concerned about his early speed, but trainer Belinda Green got some tune out of him. He got through in the closing yards to beat Coolio Gold and Lynx Maverick, who was tremendous early speed, but isn't the stoutest of stairs. But this Brady's Bullet's a very strong runner. I have to mention because a good pal Dave Lawrence is a share in him. He looks a hell of a nice dog.
It does, yeah, and it was a fantastic run. To be fair, I mean, for all when you turn the second bend when Lynx Maverick and Coolio gone on, you thought they'd fight at the finish, and the track craft that the Brady's Bullet dog showed was fantastic. For one so lightly raced, and yeah, I think it was a great effort. And he maybe won't, he will, he'll run. He won't find the toast of 500. A problem with stamina. It's maybe just the lack of early pace that might do him, but he's got plenty of scope and time to improve. And yeah, he's. I think we put him in the betting Sunday morning and about 28 to 133 the one shot, and he has got plenty of scope. And so and the competition always throws a nice dogs up. We've in the past years, the Monmore Puppy Derby has proved to be a good breeding ground for dogs for the next year.
Yeah, he qualified, or he won his first race in 28.73 around Clonmel, and they bought him out of there. Clearly a very, very nice prospect. Listen, Carl, it's been a pleasure. Thanks as always. Will we see you before the end of the Easter Cup?
Yeah, I'll probably pick up next week, the week after, and then I'll be over for the final.
Good man, Carl. Good man, Carl. I like to hear that. Tommy Lyons, will you get yourself to Dublin anytime soon?
Not sure, Ian. It all depends on how the work is going, but just keep me insanely busy. We're now at the period where the flat season is about to roll, and we've got stable tours over the next few weeks and things like that to kind of get. We still have Punchestown and Fairyhouse to deal with in the meantime. So there's an awful lot on at the moment. The only good thing is, Ian,
as well as which you had a winner. Is that what you're saying to me?
Which dog won again last week. He won 2 in a row, but they're both A6. Now he's in an A2 Wednesday night, which makes it a little bit trickier. But when you win an A6 by 11 lengths, you probably deserve to go to A2.
Carl, if you want to make an offer, I'll give you Tommy's number afterwards. Okay.
He's a pure stayer in the making. Hopefully, we'll have a bit of fun with him anyway. That's all.
A bit like myself, pure stayer. Right, I'm out of here, gentlemen. Best of luck. Thanks again to Carl Perry and to Tommy Lyons as we look back at the opening round, the BresBet Easter Cup. So much more wonderful action to come in that competition. We'll be reviewing all the second round action next week. We'll also be taking a look back at the opening round of the Conor Nanny Kirby Memorial from Limerick. An occasion not to be missed. But that's it from us on Talking Dogs this evening. Good luck, good evening, God bless.